Hey, it's Matt. Welcome to week 4 of our series Hamilton Through the Bible. Today we're looking at a really fun song, You'll Be Back. This is a show-stealing performance that is fun and memorable. It's often one of the songs that people say is their favorite. Jonathan Groff does an amazing visual performance that deserves to be seen even more than just being heard. And it's not even so much what he does, but what he doesn't do. It's all the little subtleties that he adds that make the character King George just so amazing and scene-stealing. The video that I'm going to link you to isn't just the lyrics, but is actually the video performance. It looks like someone taped it off their TV. If you can watch it on Disney Plus, that's way better. But if not, I'll include the link in the description below. Watch the video, watch his performance, because today we're going to be breaking down his visual performance as well as the lyrical content. So let's take a look at song structure. This song breaks the fourth wall, and that's what it's supposed to do. Most of the time, you don't want to break the fourth wall. You don't want to take the audience out of the performance and remind them that this is a play or that this is a musical. But this song is supposed to be a break from all the other action that's going on. Most of the previous songs have been based in hip-hop and are centered around Americans. This song takes place across the pond in England from the perspective of King George, who of course later went mad. This is intentionally the opposite of hip-hop. 60s balladish kind of, music, maybe even an homage to the Beatles. As Groff comes out, he smiles a little bit at the crowd. He's not singing to another member of the cast. He's not singing to people in general. He is breaking that fourth wall. He is looking at the crowd and looking at them as if they are the American rebels. And he does these intense stares. He accosts the audience members with his voice and with his gaze. He doesn't have to do much with his body. He actually does so much with so little. He hardly moves, but does a tremendous amount of acting with his eyes and with the tone of his voice. So as we said, he makes fantastic eye contact and stares for an uncomfortable amount of time, which is so much more effective than if he was just scanning the audience. He picks a spot and just stares directly at it as he sings, and then picks another spot and stares directly at it as he sings, which is so much more effective because, like I said, it's accosting. You feel like you're actually being attacked by the way he's looking directly at you. Groff also gives a mock fancy walk, almost like a runway model. It began out of necessity because the crown that they gave him to wear is so ridiculously heavy. He had to take small steps right in front of himself just to keep from falling over. This is just a little side note, and I'm sure that all of you guys know this, but in case you didn't, Jonathan Groff is Kristoff from Frozen. I was the only one who was shocked when I found that out because I didn't know anything about Jonathan Groff, but he does such a fantastic job. Both of these roles, he does a fantastic job. Then we get to the famous spitting incident. There are many clues throughout the song that refer to King George going insane. So some people say that this spitting is just another clue that George was losing his mind and frothing at the mouth. Groff says that he's just a spitter and that every time he performs, he spits. And of course, some absolutely classic memes have come from this moment.
You'll be the one complaining when I am gone. No, don't change the subject.
People expect to see that spit fly. You just got to worry about those first couple rows. Up until the point where he spits, the king has been relatively calm, but we begin to see on this line his crazy unhinged side being unleashed. In the audio recording, when King George says everybody, he says everybody. It's moved from a sing-song, welcoming, come on, everybody join in and sing, to a more demanding and threatening everybody. And then the sad part, in the video clip that I showed you, the guy cut it off a little bit too early. If you see it on Disney Plus, he holds that final menacing gaze for such a long time. He stares and stares, and at that last minute, he gets even more evil, like his eyes come down and this evil grin comes across his face. And it's just so perfect. Lin-Manuel Miranda was inspired to write this song when he was filming an episode of the TV show House with Hugh Laurie. Lin tells him how he wants to write this breakup song between King George and the colonies for this musical he's working on. Hugh Laurie laughed and said, "You'll be back." And Lin said he had this light bulb moment that just kind of stayed in the back of his brain until he wrote this song, "You'll Be Back." Now, something else that's kind of a side note, Hugh Laurie was on a British TV show called Blackadder, and he played King George. Boom! Isn't that awesome? I love it. I love those things. So let's take a look at song meaning. What is it we're actually learning about King George from this song? What is the purpose of this song? What is, as Lin-Manuel Miranda said, a breakup letter. George is singing it like he's this scorned lover, but we also see that it's an abusive, manipulative lover. When he says the lyric, "You cry in your tea, which you hurl in the sea when you see me go by." One, just a brilliant play on words. And of course, if you know your history, you know he's talking about the Boston Tea Party. And of course, in the spitting line that we all talked about, he has this interesting play on words. And no, don't change the subject, 'cause you're my favorite subject, my sweet submissive subjects, my loyal royal subjects, forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. And so these are actually kind of sweet lyrics. They're supposed to be endearing, but then when he says forever, he takes something sweet and he actually makes it abusive because he lets them know you're never leaving. It's a lot like Mother Gothel in the movie Tangled, where she says sweet things to Rapunzel, but there's always this hint of a threat. And this is completely evident when he says, "And I'll kill your friends and family to remind you of my love." It's so passive aggressive. I don't even know if it's passive aggressive. It's just directly aggressive. It's this sweet phrase, but then it has this tag on the end that he'll kill your friends and family. And then he says, "When you're gone, I'll go mad." And of course, he did. It's not even just a figure of speech that he'll go crazy. He literally went crazy. So let's take a look at our scripture. The Americans want to be free of the control of England, but King George thinks that they're going to return. All they have known is being under the control of this abusive ruler. And that's often how abusive relationships work. Someone is abusive and the person that's being abused knows it's bad. They know that it's bad for them, but they know nothing else. And so they often get stuck under the control of that abuser. This is not unlike our relationship with sin. It has an abusive control over us. Let's go back to some basics here. What is sin? Now, you might say doing bad things or being a bad person. Very specifically, sin comes from archery, from ancient archery. Your goal is to hit the bullseye. When you missed the mark, it was called sin. You sinned when you missed the mark. And the mark was the bullseye. So what is the mark that we're going for? Well, it's perfection. Jesus' example for us is perfection. And so anytime we miss that mark, we are sinning. Will we be able to accomplish this? No. We are born into sin. But Jesus can accomplish this, and he vouches for us. Like I said, sin is often like an abusive relationship. It's not looking out for us. It's not trying to help us. It is wanting to use us and ultimately destroy us. In 2 Peter 2:22, the Proverbs are true. A dog returns to its vomit. A pig that is washed returns to her wallowing in the mud. If you've ever had a dog throw up, have you ever seen them go back and eat the throw up? It's so sick. It's so nasty. I looked this up on the internet. Why do dogs actually eat their vomit? They smell it, and it still smells like food. They smell nutrients in there, and so it doesn't matter to them that, for us, it stinks. To them, it just smells like food, and so they go back and they eat it because they always want to eat food. And a pig that you wash is going to return to getting dirty and wallowing in the mud. My dog does the same thing. As soon as you give him a bath, he wants to run outside and roll around in the dirt. Oh, that's so dumb. Like, what do you do that for? But we understand the value in being clean. The animals don't necessarily see that same value. And so a dog or a pig, they return to this mess that they were once in because it's their nature. And it is our nature to return to our sin. We were born into sin and we return to it. You see, ever since Adam and Eve sinned at the very beginning of the world, it has been kind of like this disease that they passed on to their kids, and their kids passed on to their kids, and we have all inherited this disease of sin. Now, here's the honest truth. We have the choice not to sin, but we give in to sin nonetheless. We give in because it feels good, because we're doing the things we like, because we have rebellion in our hearts and we don't like being told what to do. So what can we do about this? Jesus came to break these chains of slavery to sin. He's given us this brand new nature, this new way to live life. In 2 Corinthians 5:17, it says, "This means that anyone who belongs to Christ has become a new person. The old life is gone, a new life has begun." Christ has given us this new opportunity to live in a different way. He says that old way of living, that's dead, that's gone. Don't live that way anymore. I'm giving you a chance to be free from the slavery of sin. Now, don't get it twisted, because it's not about saying, okay, well, I'm going to do good things then. I'm just going to change my behavior and be a good person. That doesn't work. Now, you might be thinking, why? Why, Matt? If I change my behavior, then I become a good person. Let me put it to you this way. If I have some kind of authority over someone and I force them to change their behavior, they will probably do it until I don't force them anymore. But if I can convince them that there's a better way to live, if I can convince them not just to do these things, but to actually have a change of heart, their behavior will change as a natural result of the change in their heart. They'll do these things because they are changed people inside. This is what Jesus wants us to do, is to have a changed heart, to become new people. It's not about, okay, do this, don't do this, do this, don't do this. It's about becoming new people and having a desire for different things. And when we do, we won't return to sin. We won't return to our vomit. We won't return to crawling around in the mud. Sin wants you to return. It wants to paint the picture that you're beyond saving. And so you might as well keep sinning more, because you can't do anything about it. It wants to convince you that sin is so much easier, so much more fun.
Look, you get to do what you want.
But the cost is that it destroys your soul. Jesus is offering you a better plan. Jesus says, I came to bring you life so that you would have not just regular life, but abundant life. Next week, we're going to take a look at the song Take a Break, and we are going to learn how to rest. We'll see you next week.